So let's make a video on why I think that NIO doesn't sell that many cars. Why I think Xiaomi and even BMW EVs I think sell more than NIO, and why it's just seemingly not a very popular brand. I wasn't gonna film this video today, but I'm walking past this store and they have pretty much all of their models. And I think it's a good time to just have a look and make a video for why I think NIO isn't selling many cars. So let's have a look. I've bought many cars in my life. I currently have a BMW i3. So I have experience with EVs before. I've test driven a number of different EVs. I've test driven the Xiaomi SU7 Max twice. I've driven multiple BMW EVs. I own an i3 40L Plus. I've driven the i5, I've driven the i5 M60, I've driven the i7, the iX, I think it's called. I've driven pretty much all of the BMW EVs except for the XM. I've driven some Zeekr cars, Voya. So I've driven quite a few different EVs in China. I think probably 10 in total, maybe more. So I'm giving this kind of insight, this review, from a perspective of someone who's owned a lot of cars, who's driven a lot of cars, a lot of EVs, especially in China, and who owns a BMW EV. It's great that they have all of the models here in one place, because I think it really highlights what I think is the number one issue with NIO. And that is that all of the cars have the style as if they're made for middle-aged office workers. Do you understand what I mean? Like, every NIO model looks kind of the same. It has kind of the same lines, kind of the same headlights and tail design. It has the energy, like I said, of a kind of like a middle-aged office worker is their target audience, which is quite strange, because if you look at other car manufacturers, they typically try to make a range of cars that's different, as well as target younger audiences, as opposed to making just cars that seem kind of stately. And so if you see I'll show you what I mean. So if you look at the back of this car, right, it looks more like an older person kind of car. And then you look at the back of this car, same thing. It looks very similar to that one, right? Again, kind of family car, right? Same with this one. Same thing again. And you're like, oh yeah, cool, it's got some active aero, but like, come on. Like this, it looks a lot like an X6, which is not a bad thing. But just the overall energy of NIO is quite dull. Like, NIO as a company has good engineering. I think they're a great company. I think they have very sound engineering. I think the quality of their products is very good. But the overall energy, the overall style of NIO is it's just too dull. All of the cars are very similar. They have a kind of just relatively boring energy. And they all feel like they're designed for kind of middle-aged people. Like middle-aged office workers, middle-aged families, things like that. And so I think it's very strange, because they're such a big company. You know, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of possible cars they could create, designs that they could implement. But they just create all of these cars that are very, very similar. And another issue that I have with NIO is that none of their things are new. Like, I don't know how old these models are, but I think ET7 has been around for many years now. A lot of these models are not new models. You know, Xiaomi released their SU7, the SU7 Max. And part of the reason why it's so successful isn't just because it's a new version of an EV, it's very modern, has all the latest technology. But it's a kind of sports car. You know, it's a hero car. And I think that's something that NIO doesn't have. I think it's a big mistake that you have a company as big as NIO, a company that has as much money and engineering as NIO, but they don't have any hero car. They don't have any sports car at all. It's very strange. So for me, as like a ironically middle-aged man with money, as a foreigner, you know, for me, I look at all of their cars and there's just none of them that I would actually buy. There's none of them that I look at and go, oh, damn, that's nice. I want that one. There's none. None of them. I don't like any of the styling of these cars. Are they good cars? Yeah. Are they engineered really well? Yeah. Like, are they really, like, good as EV cars, as electric vehicles? Yeah. Right? But would I buy any of these cars? No. For me, it's kind of strange. I look at it and I think, like, I don't understand why they don't have some kind of sports car. And I think this is the way that that NIO can fix their image. I think what they need to do is to build a hero car. I think NIO needs to build a copy of the 911 Carrera, like an EV version of a Porsche Carrera. Right? If you look at what Xiaomi did, they went and got a Taycan, a Porsche Taycan, and modeled their car on that. That's not a bad thing. The Taycan's probably been the best EV sedan. It still is, right? Ever since it came out in, I think, 2018. That's not a bad thing. All car manufacturers do this. Whenever a car manufacturer is making a new model or they're trying to target a specific audience, they go and buy the best models from that field and then study them to design their car. That's not a bad thing. Every car manufacturer does that. I think what NIO needs to build is a hero car. They need to build a car that revitalizes their brand, that people look at and think, wow, that's really cool. That young people want to buy, that the rich people want to buy. A car that's fun, a sports car, right? And I think the perfect car to model that on is the 911 Carrera. I think what NIO needs to make is an EV version of a Porsche Carrera, right? It's a coupe, it's 2-door, 4-seat, right? Lots of power, rear-wheel drive, right? A NIO version, a NIO EV version of a Porsche Carrera. And so if you look at everything, like, everything's quite nice, right? The design's quite good, everything's nice. But just immediately, as soon as I sit in here, like, even compared to my i3, it just feels... It feels very, very dull. It feels very basic. You know, maybe you don't understand, maybe you haven't experienced, you know, all of these different cars. It's kind of strange. And something that I noticed with this model, I don't know if it's like with all models, is the windscreen's very narrow. Super narrow. Like, this area is very, very short. It feels kind of strange. Is it because the seat's so high? Like, it's better with the seat down. But, yeah, like, I just look at everything and you're like, yeah, it's good design, it's good engineering, but just, is it exciting? No. Like, I think it has a little bit of the problem that Tesla has. One of the reasons that I don't like Tesla, it just feels... It feels very basic. It feels weird. It feels like that, like university students created it. Like, created the design for it. And when you consider that this car, like, these EV models from NIO cost a lot more than a Xiaomi, it's just very strange. Like, why would you buy these cars, these NIO ES6, ES8, you know, ET5? Like, why would you buy these cars over a Xiaomi SU7? The Xiaomi is cheaper, the Xiaomi looks better, the Xiaomi is more fun to drive, the Xiaomi has far better, I think, overall feel and style to the car, the energy of the car to drive it, the way it looks at. The Xiaomi has also just a better following. People are more interested in it. You literally see people looking at the Xiaomi SU7 when they walk past it. I've parked in car parks with my BMW and seen people literally looking at the Xiaomi. Nobody's stopping to look at a NIO. I think it's a really big mistake for NIO as a company to not have a sports car, to not have a hero car. Like I said, they need to make like an EV NIO version of a 911 Porsche Carrera, right? Buy a Porsche Carrera the same way that Xiaomi did with the Porsche Taycan, right? NIO needs to go and buy a 911 Carrera, right? Model their car on that, design it on that style, right? Rear-wheel drive, sports coupe, 2-door, 4-seat, lots of rear-wheel power. You know, make an EV version of a Porsche Carrera. And what's really interesting about this is that you already know that Porsche is doing this. Like, Porsche's going to release an EV version of their Carrera in the next 5 years or 10 years. You know they're already planning it. So as NIO, like, you would be crazy to not beat them to that and make one. Because everybody's going to like it. I think if it comes out, it's very sporty, it's very fun to drive. You know, it's got a kind of following because it's a young car, it's a fast car, it's fun, it's etc. Like it will develop a lot of interest in the brand the way that Xiaomi has done with the SU7. You know, I think making their car very stylish, very sporty, very fast with the Max version was a very clever decision, because it gives the car a kind of cult following. It makes it a very interesting car that a lot of people talk about. Whereas if Xiaomi just released the standard version of that car, people would still talk about how nice it looks, but I don't think it would have the same vibe, it would have the same energy. I think a lot of it is to do with its performance, to do with how interesting and fun it is to drive when it does 0 to 100 2.7 seconds. So I think NIO needs to make a sports car. I think it's a big mistake that they haven't. And I also think that there needs to be a larger variation between their models. I think, frankly, they've got too many models that are just far too similar. Like, I'm looking at ES6. Right, this is ES6, this is ES8. It's like the same car. It's the same car. ES6, ES8, it's the same car. The same car. It's like, oh, this one's a little bit bigger. Nah, it's the same car, man. Like, I don't understand what's going on with the design and planning division in NIO, but why would you do that? Like, why would you make multiple models that are almost identical? I don't understand the thinking behind that. Like, it's a very strange way to make your car lineup. Like, people don't want to buy cars like they're buying fast food. There needs to be a variation between the models. You can't have ES6, ES8. It's this exact same car, just 20% bigger. Like, that's crazy. You know, you can't make it like it's you're ordering food. Oh, I'm going to order food in medium. Oh, I want a large meal, and then that's your ES8. Oh, I'm going to buy a medium meal. That's ES6. Like, come on, man. Like, it's like there needs to be a significant variance between the cars. And I think also it's better to have, like, a few really special cars. Like, they're very, very good, they're very interesting, as opposed to having a really big range of cars that are kind of boring. Because, like I said, you walk around here, and this is why I decided to do this video now, even though I was planning to do it for the future. Because this store has almost all of the models, which I haven't seen before. It's rare to get a dealership or a store like this that has every single one of the NIO cars. And so, like, walking around here, it's just weird. Like, in my brain, they all look the same. Like, every one of these cars look the same. It doesn't matter if it's ES6 or ET5, they all kind of look the same. It's weird. Right, so I don't like it, I don't understand, and I'm not saying that you should make the models so crazy that they're completely different. There should be some, I think, styling follow-on between different models. But I think all of these are just far too similar. I also think in terms of interior, it's just too dull. It's too basic. If you want the best piece of advice that I can give you in terms of developing car interiors for EVs, you need to use what Porsche and BMW have done, which is just have one long screen that goes along like this. I've driven a whole bunch of cars. I have a BMW i3. The Porsche and BMW design, where it's one screen, one long screen, Voya has it too. It's by far the most natural feeling in a dash. Sticking this screen here, the way that Tesla and a number of car companies have done, is really stupid. Xiaomi did this too, and I think it's stupid. I think they'll change it in the future. It looks really weird. Like, having this, like, TV screen here, it feels like it's an accessory. Like, you're ticking options and you're like, yeah, I'll get the TV, and then they just stick a TV there. It's really weird. I don't like it in the Xiaomi either. It's one of the biggest complaints that I have about the Xiaomi SU7 as well. The BMW system and the Porsche system, which has the one long screen, it's by far the most natural feeling. It's by far the most ergonomical. It doesn't stand out. It doesn't attract your attention. It just naturally is part of where the dash is already. So I think that's something that all car manufacturers should focus on. That you remember that I think the interior needs to have a natural feeling. You can't just have these weird, like, screens where your eyes are going. It just doesn't feel normal. It feels weird. As for the materials, yeah, like, it's not bad, right? Like, all the materials are nice, but again, like, it's just one of those things. Like, NIO is a very well-engineered company. It has a lot of money. It has, you know, a lot of, I'm sure, good employees and good designers and everything. But you just, like, the whole car, like, I like this. This is nice. The soft material, yeah, cool with that. But just, do you understand what I mean? Like, the car, you just sit in it and you look at it and you're just like, Like, it doesn't really do anything for you. It's not really that special. It doesn't really have any kind of cool vibe or cool energy. Like, I test drove the Tesla Model Y, and just incredibly boring car, very dull car. I then went and test drove the BMW i3 40L, right, and was just shocked at how much nicer the BMW is than the Tesla. The interior, the energy of the car, the way that it feels to drive it, the way that it feels to look at your car when you park it, these things matter. These things matter. You know, and the BMW is far better at that than the Tesla. It's the reason that I bought the BMW. Right, and I think that NIO's got this problem. You know, that the energy of the car, the vibe of the car, the way it looks when you park it and then you look back at your car, it's just not special. It just doesn't have much of a class or much of a nice energy. It just doesn't. Now, is it a good car? Yeah. Is this a well-designed, well-engineered car? Does it have good products? And, you know, is it nice to drive? It's safe? Yeah, sure. It's a great car. Right, but would I choose this over the Xiaomi SU7? No. Would I choose this over the BMW i3? No. Like, do you understand what I mean? And I think this is the problem that NIO has. You know, with the release of the Xiaomi, the i3, these kind of things, I think, you know, what percentage of people are going to choose these cars, the NIO cars, over the Xiaomi SU7, over the BMW i3? Like, who's going to choose these over that? You know, like, these people. You know, middle-aged families. You know, and that's only a very small group of people. You understand? Like, middle-aged families, people that want an EV, like kind of sedan thing, or EV, like, you know, wagon. Like, what percentage of the market is that? It's quite small. Whereas you look at the Xiaomi, all kinds of people are buying the Xiaomi SU7 Max. Girls are buying it, guys are buying it because it's fast, families are buying it, everybody's buying it. Right, because it's a very interesting car. It has a very cool energy. The styling is very good. The performance is amazing. Right, whereas I don't understand, like, what the target market is for these NIO cars. It's quite small. So I know this sounds like a lot of criticism, but really I'm just trying to help the company, because I think NIO is a very well-engineered company. They have a very good budget. I think they have a very bright future. But currently I just don't understand what their design portfolio is what they're doing. I don't understand what their design direction is. You know, like, what are they trying to make, really? Are they just trying to make a generic, just standard car that's not really interesting? If that's what they're trying to make, then they're winning at that. They're doing very good at it. But if they're trying to make cars that are exciting, if NIO's trying to make cars that give you a cool vibe and that are exciting to look at, and, oh wow, that's amazing, they're not doing a good job. Like, NIO is not doing a good job if that's your goal. If your goal is to make exciting cars that people really talk about and that people look at when they drive past, and they give you a cool, like, oh, this is wow. Like, if that's the energy NIO's trying to get, they failed. Then these cars don't give you that energy. They're very nice cars. I'm sure they're nice cars to drive. They're nice cars to own. But are they special? No. Do they feel special? No. Do they look special? No. You know, are they like an exciting car that makes you smile? No. And I think that's the biggest problem with NIO. I think that's the biggest mistake with NIO. They have a huge budget. They have very good engineering. They're clearly a very good company, a company that's going to be around for a long time. They have a good future. But they just don't make interesting or exciting cars. And I think that's a really big mistake. You know, they should be making cars that are like an EV version of a 911 Carrera, like an EV version of an M3. You know, these kind of Taycan. Like, look at what Xiaomi did. You know, it's so simple but so clever. They took the best EV, the best looking EV, the Porsche Taycan, and then they just made a competitor for that. Right? Why doesn't NIO do that? Why doesn't NIO look at what the other best cars in the market are and try to make cars that are more exciting, more interesting, and better priced than those cars, rather than just make a whole lineup of cars that all look and feel the same? But every one of these cars looks the same, feels the same. You understand what I mean? And it's strange. I bet if I get in every one of these cars, the interior feels exactly the same in every car. Right, so what's that one? EC6. What's this one? EC8? EC7? They've got 6, 7, 8, and they're all the same. Look, exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's like the same. They're just the same car. It's weird. I use this charger, the 20 kilowatt charger, really good charger. Probably the best medium speed charger you can get. Like, this car looks better. That's why it's more popular. It's more of a different style, specific design, but again, just interior, exactly the same. Exactly the same. I'm not saying that it needs to be completely different, but it's just a weird feeling. It's like you're ordering food. It's like, this is a small meal, medium meal, large meal.